Right.
Will
Brad Marcus. Oh, go ahead.
will AGI exist in the next 25 years? I think we'll have AGI at this pace within 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonah Cock had a good question a little while ago when we were talking about Voltaire stuff. He says, any reason to restrict single entities from holding a seat as an SPO or a DREP combined, combining roles, crossing wires like that?
There's no restriction that I'm aware of. We
No.
can't enforce it. You'd need real life human identities to do that. So, because the problem is that even if you KYC people, it's like, well, okay, I'll have Charles Hoskinson over here and William Lasker over here,
Oh,
mustache on. It's like, okay, they're the same person. But so you can't restrict it. If you admit any degree of pseudonymity in the system, then you can't restrict dual participation. And if you remove pseudonymity from the system, then you actually have a gatekeeper who gets to decide, because whoever is doing the KYC will basically be told, don't let people from Iran and other jurisdictions participate, and they won't. So yeah, it's pretty bad.
yeah. Any official or new roadmap or releases in the pipeline for 2025? It looks like from bot 66.
Yeah, we'll propose one, but we don't run that anymore. So there's SIPs and there's a SIP process, and we'll
Yeah.
make some announcements with the MBO about that. So Charles, you went through CT to get the executive scan for your overall health. Will your clinic have the same process that you went through? Also, can you share your place in Connecticut? Oh yeah, yeah. So I went to actually it was Virginia. I didn't go to Hartford. I went to the because you're thinking of PLC. So PLC has a branch in New Jersey and a branch in Virginia, and I got the executive wellness checkup. And there's several competitors, Cooper, Elytra, and a few others. But generally, how an executive physical works is you fly in the morning, you spend about $7,000 to $10,000, and they basically proke and prod you for 8 hours straight. You get scans done. They take tons of vials of blood. They touch every orifice of your body. They check your eyes, and they do like a 2 hour history, 2 hour going back to the entire patient history, very exhaustive way. And they pull it all together. And they convince you that this is a good idea because they have like these really prestigious doctors. Went to great medical schools and places I could never get into. And so what we're doing at our clinic probably next year, but it may take till 2025, is we will have an executive physical program. But the difference between those doc in the boxes and us is that we actually have specialists and we actually have care teams, and we have a much broader view on medicine, and we can do a depth much more so than Elytra or PLC or others can. For example, we're getting a 3 Tesla MRI, and we're going to do AI upscaling on these things and use AI to help us do things like collect histories and look at labs. We have a high complexity lab that we're putting through, and actually, there's a pretty good chance we'll have a pathologist on staff before the end of the year. So they send their labs out. They contract imaging centers. They have a 1.5 Tesla MRI. We have a much higher resolution, and we have spec scan. We have everything. We have a whole lifestyle institute that we're setting up. We have some partnerships that are coming together. Like, we're working pretty closely these days with the Buck Institute, and we're probably going to start doing some clinical research with them. So just the depth and breadth of our capabilities are really transformative. But you need to go beyond the executive physical. Once you've done that, that's a onboarding mechanism to a overall care plan to improve the wellness of the patient as a whole. So you'd look at things like, okay, what is your lifestyle plan? So what is your diet, exercise, and nutrition plan? Okay. Then lifestyle, what is your stress reduction? What is your mental state? Because mental health matters just as much as the physical stuff. And if you don't have any of that right, you will die young. Having all that right doesn't guarantee longevity, but getting those wrong guarantees the absence of it. Then the next side of it is, okay, once we have that lifestyle plan, then there's managing of what you have, and then there's what we can do to augment what you have. So we are, of course, looking into hyperbarics and stem cell therapies and all these other new things, and that's why Peter Attia's book is interesting, and what Sinclair writes is interesting, Lifespan, and these other books that come out. Peter Diamandis, the X Prize guy, just wrote a book with Tony Robbins called Life Force, and actually a surprisingly good book with a lot of good ideas in it. But no matter which well you drink from and your causes of aging, you do have to come up with a bespoke plan. Then you have to follow that plan. So you go for the physical, but then you need local support where you live to basically hold you accountable to the plan. And also, then you can ship drugs. We have compound pharmacy that we're setting up as well, so we can manufacture medicines that are in the scope of a doctor-patient relationship and get you a bespoke formula. Bespoke formulary for you. So there's a lot to it, and PLC is great, and they're a great start, as is Elytra or any of these other centers, but by no means are the end all be all. And then there's just a lot more to continuous measuring, like Aura Ring for sleep and pulse ox and these types of things. Also, get a continuous glucose monitor and get a deep understanding of what spikes your blood glucose. And you kind of have to work your way through it. And I wish there was a beautiful protocol that I could just point to and say that thing does it all, and you're good to go. Some people have gotten pretty close, like Mark Hyman, is super healthy guy. He's a functional medicine doctor and he's written a lot of great books. And he looks like he's 40 and he's like in his late 60s. So he's an example of a pretty balanced dude. And there's certainly a lot to it. But the other problem is the amount of time you have to invest in these things. There's always that trade off. It's like I weigh way too much relative to what I should weigh, and I have absolutely no excuse. I have all the resources in the world, for God's sakes. I know what to do. It's just I'm busy and I'm stressed out of my fucking mind, and there's a lot going on right now. And so I always use that as an excuse, and it always gets in the way. So how the hell can I preach good health when I don't exactly do that myself? So that is the hardest part, I think, and that's why we have the Roxiva, and that's why we talk a lot about mental health and goal setting and performance psychology and these types of things, because you have to somehow dopamine hack the person. You have to somehow motivation hack the person to get them to commit long term to doing something, every single day. And some cases you can be very creative. It gets from auto hypnosis all the way to like asceticism, where you like have the Pavlok on and it shocks you every 30 minutes to comply. But at the end of the day, that is the single most important guiding factor. Plus environments. You cannot be healthy in the wrong environment. If you have the wrong people in your life, you have the wrong geography, the wrong work-life balance, the wrong workplace. No matter what you eat, how much sleep you try to get, it just doesn't work. It's like exposing yourself to radiation every day. It will kill you at some point. So getting that right environment may actually require sacrifice. You might have to quit your job. You might have to move. You might have to divorce a toxic partner and go through a very painful transition in life. You see, and a lot of people aren't necessarily prepared to do that, and so they persist in the toxic environment, and they wonder, God, why did my health fall apart? And that's just the other side of the token.